All right, this is Group 5, Podcast 1. We are going to be talking about special education today.
Yeah, sounds good.
So you work in special education right now,
I do.
and you interviewed with Cindy Larson, who also works in special education and
does.
is retiring after 38 years, which
38
is
years, yeah.
pretty cool.
Long time.
Yeah, she had some really good insight. And
She does. I also work with a teacher that has been in special education for 38 years. She's got a couple years left before she retires, but so she had some input as well.
Okay.
As we were interviewing. She's just very personal, so she wanted to stay out of the film, but she definitely had some things to say and some notes that I took down.
Okay.
So, I mean, to start, it's come a long way since the beginning. I mean, it used to be they had mental facilities and stuff like that to put people with special needs away because they didn't know how to handle or how to teach these students. They've come up with ways to teach these students, and it's actually really cool the steps that I've taken. So the teacher that I work with, Donna Ellens, she created the transition program, which is a program where after students graduate, which is SPED students usually graduate between the ages of 18 and 21. State law mandates that after they turn 21, they have to graduate that year. So the transition program is a program that works closely with Clark and Evergreen School District, and they create classes and work experience for mentally disabled, differently abled students to make progress into becoming collective members of society. So,
you said they have to graduate at 21. What if they're not
I was gonna ask
considered
that, yeah.
like graduation worthy? I mean, I don't want to.
so the transition.
Nice.
If they're not ready,
it
they
makes
just
sense. Well, they don't necessarily fail. It's pretty much the system is pretty much made so all SPED students can graduate.
Okay.
There is a point where
Like
they will
with a
graduate
diploma?
with a diploma.
Okay.
They will graduate with a diploma. It's a specialized diploma, but it is a diploma nonetheless.
That's cool.
And then Clark, I believe it's just a state law. It might be federal now, where the state gives SPED students up to 2 years of free community college
Okay.
to help with that
Nice.
development, right? So
Okay.
the assumption is that they're not going to be on the same educational standards as the general education students, and so by going to Clark for those 2 years in specialized classes, they might be able to get to a point where they are closer to general education students when they graduate high school.
Does Clark have any actual special education classes?
They do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like specialized classes for SPED students.
I didn't know that.
So is that
And-
part of that program?
It's not a part of the program. It's where they go after the program. So the transition
Okay.
program is trying to pretty much independentify students.
Give
So
them their independence.
yeah, so work experience, how to wash clothes, how to properly clean a bathroom, how to just really real life situations, taxes, dealing with finances, and it's a lot of stuff that we do day to day. In our classes at the high school level, but our job is more to, I mean, there are standards they have to pass, there are tests they have to pass, and so although we use everyday items to teach these, we're more focused on, can you count to 6? Do you know what the difference between $6 and the number 6 is? The difference between decimals, percentages, fractions, that sort of thing. But it's come a long way, and so Cindy Larson, she was a teacher for a long time, became an administrator in Battleground, worked there for a very long time, got offered a fairly prestigious position at City College. Here in there's one here in Vancouver, but when she was doing it, there was just one in Portland, so she did the one in Portland. And what it allowed them to do is her program specifically took students like me, where I'm working with SPED students, and allowed them to work in the classroom every day and use that as part of college credit, and then take classes after school. And they worked with students to get them to be SPED teachers. And it was a really well-funded, great program. And when funding went away for that, she took up the position at Evergreen High School as the special education coordinator, working with Donna Ellens, who's the teacher in my classroom. And they have been, I mean, people call them the dynamic duo. They're fantastic. Two of the greatest people I've ever met. And they're just truly passionate about the work they do.
Yeah. You could tell in her interview she sounded really like.
Yeah. Well, she just gets fed up with a lot of people that just don't understand but will judge anyway.
Yeah.
So What got you involved with SPED in the first place? So you got your degree
Oh,
in
yeah.
SPED, so
Yeah.
what?
Well, I didn't really even know what I was going to do in college. I went to Central Washington, and I just started there, and somebody took me under their wing, Dr. Miller, and said, you'd be really good in this. I just took one education class, and it was special ed. And my mom taught at the state school for the blind for 18 years. So I was kind of
Already in.
grew up in that environment because it was a residential
Yeah.
school then, and so
Okay.
we had students from the state school. She was a Cub Scout leader, and they were all residential, so they came to her house all the time. Her kids were really involved. She taught third grade, so I basically any day off, since it was residential, I spent there. So I kind of grew up in the whole
system.
world, not even knowing, not realizing that it was happening to
Yeah.
me.
I mean, like her telling her history, why she got into it, it was just like, yeah, she said it that she didn't even know she was being like guided into this
Yeah,
right.
position, and it was exactly like she just sounded
Right.
like she was totally like ready for it,
She just
whether she
kinda
knew it or
was
not.
in it, yeah.
Well, and the gist that you get from her, and even Donna, and the few comments that she made, and when she talked to me off the camera, was that they do it because they're passionate about it, not because there's no money to be had by doing this. There's no you have to truly be passionate about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And Donna spent years helping manage the transition program and creating it. She has spent years in different classrooms over time. SPED department is one of the most well-funded departments now, but it's always being brushed under the rug because of that. And so, our group of classrooms is in the corner of the school. And so it's just now in 2019 still becoming a common decency sort of thing where it's you don't treat them differently just because they're different.
Well, I think a lot of education is there's no money in it. You have to do it because you love it.
Right.
Besides, like college professors, they probably make decent money. But like middle school teachers,
Right.
elementary school teachers, kindergarten teachers, daycare workers, like preschool teachers, all of those people. It's not great money.
It's
You're
not great
doing it
money.
because you want to help
Right.
the kids in your community. You want a better future, and you know that the kids that you're teaching are gonna,
Right.
be able to provide that. And
What is a story you want to share? So like a positive or negative story in your time. Do you have any that like stand out to
There's
you?
tons. I can't.
Oh, I know there's special ed. I mean, there's services.
Okay, I'll give you one that just happened this morning. No, because a parent came in. I'm sure Donna remembers who it is. And this girl was way high maintenance, like super needy. And her mom came in this morning and said she was driving by and she wanted to come in and tell me what her daughter was doing now, and that she was working at A&A and the sushi restaurant, working full time, living in Kalama,
Wow.
and doing really, really well. And I loved her there.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
it's huge.
We're
Yeah,
going
because
from super high maintenance
super high maintenance to being employed and thriving. That just happened this morning. So I mean, those are the kinds of things that we don't hear about, and I thanked her because we don't always hear about the good
where you
things
do all
that
this
happen.
work and then they just kind of drop off.
One of the things I found most interesting was the story that she told.
yeah,
The,
I really liked that.
Where the girl came back, not the girl, was it her mom
It was
who
her
came
mom,
back and was
yeah.
telling her about how because they don't get that usually from what I got from the interview. They don't,
Right.
They don't know what happens when the student
That's
graduates.
super
or
common
leaves.
for all high school. I mean, it's like
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
don't know.
put all
You
this
just
work
kinda-
into it and you
I
don't
think,
know.
I think especially for SPED though, because they're really working with them and it's more personal. I think than
Right.
like when I left my ninth grade
Yeah,
class.
I'm
they
not gonna
don't-
go
they
talk
don't
to
Right.
any of my
Well,
There's a
teachers
couple
from high
teachers
school.
who we had a good
Oh, I wouldn't.
relationship. But,
It's a lot
but,
more
yeah.
like elementary school. So for those that don't know how SPED is set up, at least in my district, is that there is the LSC class, which is the life skills class.
Mhm.
There is the developmental skills class, and then there's the ALC, which I actually don't know what it stands for, but it's the upper level class. It's the third tier. And the developmental skills are, okay, can you talk? Can you walk? Can you take care of yourself in the restroom? Can you, stuff like that. And
Preschool level.
and there's actually very few students that are actually selected for that classroom, but due to class sizes, we've had to put more students in that classroom to kind of even them out.
I feel like most people who are at that level don't generally pursue an education, or the parents don't push it as hard.
Right.
Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, there have been problems because people who are disabled and are still in high school, get money from the state. And so what'll happen
okay.
is we have a great student. She's non-functioning. She's in a wheelchair. She has a private duty nurse. But she is now 21. She's going to graduate this year.
Yeah.
But they get help from the state because she's still in school. And so they get, the private duty nurse. They get all of these benefits. And so she will still get some benefits when she graduates, but not nearly the amount that she gets now. And
so they got to kind of scramble and figure out what
they got to
they're
scramble.
gonna do.
It's a hard transition for parents to make. And so
there's benefits for that.
there's
having them in
benefits.
school.
Sometimes it's worried that it's being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's almost what it's there for, is so that people can take advantage of that situation and use it to help them because...
And help the student.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the life skills classroom, I mean, it's, like I said, it's built a lot like elementary school. So most of our kids are in our classroom all 6 periods of the day. Sometimes with inclusion, they will go into general education classes to be a part of the classroom, but we don't do that unless we know that there's safety in our students and the students that they're going to be with. And so one of the big deals that's happening right now in Portland is that there are 4 different districts that are being sued by paraeducators because they don't feel like their safety is being put at the forefront. And it's a huge problem because at what line are you crossing a line? So at what point are you doing more damage by having aggressive students in the class?
And I think in the you were talking about how they'll hit you and they'll punch you and they'll like tackle you and stuff, like
and
that's risky.
Right. And most people just say, well, they're special needs, what do you expect? And well, I expect not to get assaulted at work. Well, so where's that line? How do you draw that line? How do you create that line?
I work with little kids and like I get hit, I get jumped on, I get kicked, and so working with people who have the same mentality, that's what you would expect, but it's just
they're full grown.
Giant bodies,
they can be
the
dangerous.
strength that so it's you can't just throw them out to the wolves and let them fend for themselves, but you also have to like, how are you going to take care of yourself?
So the best things that can be done for SPED students to help them is continuity is number one. I think continuity is the most important thing that you can have for a SPED student. That's why we have the schedules we do. That's why staff dependability is really important, because you can't just have different staff there every day. It's really important that you have continuity with schedules. We have many students in our classroom that cannot function without a written schedule in front of them because they have to know what they're doing throughout the day. And so, one of our goals is to teach them flexibility while still making them comfortable.
Kind of push them out, but not too far.
Right, exactly. One of our students really likes to have time at the end of every period to just, it's called choice time. He likes to have time to himself. Right now it's 10 minutes. We'd like to make that shorter, but there are limits to how far are we willing to push the classroom to make sure that this student is getting a shorter time.
Because then you got to kind of work with the other students in the class too, and it's like, well, why does he get to go do that? You know?
Right.
So does everyone get choice time when he gets?
Nope,
or is it just
it's
him?
just him.
Yeah. See, I'd be like, if I was a student, I'd be like, why can't I?
Right. And so, fortunately, most students are understanding, or just don't pay attention to that anyway. So it can be really difficult, but it is definitely heading in a much better direction than it has in the past. It's being treated more as a sympathetic thing now, or empathetic, than it is, they should go to a mental,
I think it used to be you're broken and we can't fix you, and now it's kind of like, oh, let's kind of help you at least deal with this. If even if we can, we'll try to help you actually solve it.
I mean, there are certain cases, where there are quote unquote savants where sure they're learning disabled, but I know many
super smart. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I know many students that are far smarter at mathematics than anybody in the entire school. Can they produce at the same level? Probably not, but they know it better than anyone. They just don't know how to communicate, and that's the other huge thing. So there's continuity and there's communication. A lot of our students don't know how to communicate their emotions, how they're feeling, what they want. Wants and needs are something that's really hard to communicate and hard to differentiate from. And if you can't communicate, how do you tell somebody that you need something? And so we have students that get angry. We have students that cry. We have students that just get irritated, walk out of the room, and it's not necessarily because they're angry. It's not necessarily because they're sad, but it's because they don't know how to communicate it any better. And so that's
they
what
may want something simple, but they don't know, like...
Right, they don't know how to ask for it.
Yeah, it's like, I just want, like, I need some water, I need to go to the bathroom.
I want it to be quiet, but they just don't know how to communicate it.
And so it gets overwhelming. Like, I can't imagine, like, right now needing something like, you know, being in class, having to go to the bathroom and not being able to ask.
Right.
Like,
or just go. Yeah.
Right.
Or just leave and look like weird, you know, just stand up and like, okay, like, I mean, obviously in college it's kind of what you do, but like back in high school you kind of got to ask, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, I think we're out of time, so thank you for watching our podcast.
Thank you.
All right.